This week in the news, Microsoft nukes someone's account, Palworld topping the charts, Steam scammer gets arrested, and more on Old Man Rages at the News. Before we get the show on the road, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy the content. Well, Microsoft's done it again. This time around they deleted a streamer's Microsoft account and his OneDrive account as well, for good measure. This happened to the streamer Joshua Kane, and he got an email regarding this from Microsoft. Now, to quote the email, "At Microsoft, safeguarding your account is top priority. We have thoroughly investigated the account and billing activity associated with your Microsoft account. Based on this review, we've confirmed that unauthorized access occurred." Alright, so they themselves admitted that the account did indeed get hijacked. That's good, right? Well, halfway done is halfway done, I guess. They also added that due to the security changes to the account, they cannot, and I do mean cannot, do anything. Yeah. And best part of all of that is, this resulted in a permanent suspension of the account. They also made this action, well, for a lack of a better word, colossal fuck up. All in the goal to, and I quote, "ensure that your data remains protected." Motherfucker! The only thing getting protected here is the piss poor image everyone has of Microsoft. And there is a reason, as we can all see, why they're called Microsoft now by the public. And, in a surprise twist to the story, Xbox support out of everyone possible reached out and let the streamer know they're working on restoring purchases and reaching out with the next step, which they kept up. Yes, they actually followed through what they discussed. Joshua posted a 2.5-minute video on his X account confirming that he got both his Microsoft account and the OneDrive data back. Holy shit. It's as if someone over at Xbox support actually reads what's happening and has, common sense. That, or you're better off contacting Xbox support rather than Microsoft support for shit like this, which doesn't bode well for Microsoft. And Joshua rightfully called this whole shit show shady, in case anybody's curious. I mean, I wouldn't say shady, I would say a colossal fuck up on Microsoft's part, but that's just me. Now, last thing that I want to note here, since it's kind of important, the very same Xbox account did mention that everyone they responded to should get a DM from them with the next step and then continue from there. Either they're fixing their systems and the slop gates have been shut, or somebody actually decided to do work over at Microsoft and get some goodwill from the public. Only time will tell. Now, sticking with Microsoft, a Doom developer admitted that there are no benefits to being owned by Microsoft. Shocking news, water is wet, the earth spins, and clouds are seen in the sky. Anyways, this came from game developer where an unknown source said, and I quote, "They didn't even wait to see if the product is successful before they got rid of the team. There are no benefits to being owned by Microsoft. In fact, they have destroyed immense amounts of value that I don't even think that they are aware of." Now, I do also want to point out another source here who worked at ZeniMax and told game developer, "Does Microsoft care? Absolutely not. And they seem to actually put some level of effort and care into making it as painful as possible." Microsoft obviously abandoned everyone from the union they laid off, but they've even abandoned the people that weren't in the union. But let's be honest here. If the stories are true that Minecraft carried the whole Xbox brand, well, can't fault Xbox a single bit here. Because if the studio isn't making profit, and is in fact draining the company's resources, obviously something has to change. Either the studio makes money, makes products that make money, or they get introduced to the exit sign. Whether you like the system or not, that's how things work these days. You want something that's driven by the soul? Well, the indie market is right over there. And continuing with companies with poor track record, Ubisoft quietly deleted the claim that microtransactions make premium games more fun. I still wonder if this is a typo and they meant make more money. But oh well, we won't know until they say something else, so I digress. Look, let's be real here. They aren't going away from their traditional microtransactions, paid cosmetics, and so on that you normally see the moment you pause a Ubisoft game. The CEO, Yves Guillemot, described the fiscal year of 2025 to 2026 as a year of decisive action, citing a more selective market and ambitious internal transformation. You know, the classic speech of saying a lot without saying a lot. The report also stated that Ubisoft is trying to rebuild around a more focused model and emphasizes that player trust is now imperative in today's market. You know, you would have gotten that trust years ago if you made good games, but I guess that's lost on that company. Now, the developers at Ubisoft Barcelona have started a 3-day strike to protest the company's plans to lay off 51 employees, even though the game sold 2 million copies on the first day. Now, put a pin on that, there's gonna be more on that later on. One of the developers said that the studio created all the underwater levels. This, on the screen here, is the full list of exact details on what they worked on. Workers are asking Ubisoft to not lay off employees, guarantee better job security, bring back the studio's remote work policy, and honor promised promotions and salary increases. Now, to Ubisoft's credit, they did respond to VGC saying its plans remain a proposal and no final decision will be made until the collective consultation process has concluded. I mean, if these guys worked on all the underwater levels, I'm not entirely sure how they hold up when it comes to public scrutiny. I come from the background of World of Warcraft. Underwater combat there was shit. Anyways, now, remember how I mentioned earlier that the Black Flag Resynced sold 2 million copies on day one? Yes, this time they wrote copies sold. Didn't mention anything about player count like how they did with Assassin's Creed Shadows, so that on its own speaks volume. It's also worth noting that because of that, they posted a redeemable code for a game where you can claim 1500 Animus keys, aka in-game currency. Now, the best part of all of this is that even though the price is lower than Assassin's Creed Shadows, Black Flag Resynced managed to blow past it, according to Analea Insight. To be exact, Black Flag earned more than double what Shadows did on its launch day, and 4 days later, it accumulated 35.1 million euros, but it's a Shadows 22.2 million revenue based on unit sales. Alinea also pointed out that Resynced outsold Valhalla by 9 times and Mirage by 19 times. Yeah, almost as if they made a good game or remade a good game, people will actually buy it. Now, this gets better. Ubisoft confirmed on the 17th of July that the game sold 3 million copies. Again, they wrote copies, not players. Simple wording, people. Simple wording tells you more about what state the game is in compared to some shills on Twitter screaming, "Oh, but copies sold, active players!" Yeah. Alright, bit of a tangent here. Marketing can obscure information any way they want. Unless it says copies sold, anything else can be and is most likely tampered data. It's not even guaranteed that its copy sold is tampered data is not tampered, since it doesn't include refunds, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. If someone says copy sold, chances are you get a more accurate reading than player count, especially in a game that costs money to buy, not a free-to-play game. The rules there slightly differ. And now, in another display of how a game breaks records. With the drop of Palworld's patch 1.0 and the game's release, the game managed to get into the top 15 biggest all-time player peak with over 921,000 concurrent players. And, as of writing, the peak stands at 921,485 players. Now, let's be real here. It still didn't break its all-time peak, but that is pretty impressive considering a couple of weeks ago, the game barely had over 30,000 players. So, you know, a lot of people came back to experience what the full gameplay will be. And I can tell you, it's fun. Additionally to all of this, Bucky, the Pocket Bear head of publishing, says multiple Palworld spin-off projects are already in development. You know what that means? Get ready for Farmville, boys. We be harvesting wheat with Pal Farm. Yeehaw! And yes, I got the Pal Farm thing from the top comment. But still, the whole spin-off thing isn't without merit. As an interview with Game 8 where Bucky explained the company's ambition. To quote part of that, we're also kind of thinking about the future. We've got some spin-offs we're experimenting with, and hopefully we'll be back to figure out how to keep expanding the Palworld universe. The IP is gonna keep growing. Now, in that interview, he did also mention that the game was shaped mostly by player feedback, so, you know, the thing Sony is definitely allergic to at this point in life, apparently. But anyways, I digress. In other news, Steam managed to hit $11.1 billion in the first half of 2026, and most of the money is from, well, the more observant part of the audience would not be surprised by this, old games. This information came from LNA Analytics, and if the information is correct, that it would mean that they earned 14.5% more compared to the first half of 2025 and 8% more compared to the second half of 2025. Bear in mind that the second half of 2025 has holiday sales and seasonal spending involved, which normally means Microsoft is raking in the money. When I say Microsoft, Steam is raking in the money. Yeah! Microsoft's stupidity earlier is still infectious. Anyways, for some context, the first half of 2024, 29% of Steam's revenue came from games released in 2024. For 2025, 27%, and finally with 2026, only 21% of the revenue came from games that were released in 2026. Now, admittedly, the year's halfway through right now, so who knows? Might be a bit higher in the long run compared to 2025, especially with Christmas, autumn sales, and what other sales Steam decides to throw out. But anyways, let's be real here. To me, it's not a surprise, especially when you know that older games tend to go on sale. People pick those things up because, well, they're cheaper. Especially if, well, you know, for $60 you can get 5-6 games, or you can pay $70 for one game, figure out you don't like it, refund it, and be like, did I really spend $70 on something I didn't like? Oh wait, what's that? Just costs 3? It's on discount? 2 hours later, you're flying high on a wingsuit, firing rockets at your opponents. Anyways, LNA also pointed out that, and I quote, third-party publishers quietly returning to Steam after their own launcher experiments tails between their legs. Yeah, even LNA has a sense of humor, I see. Now, let's be real here. nobody likes third-party launchers. If you need to use a third-party launcher in your game, I probably speak for a majority of people, I'd much rather refund it and not play it. Why? Well, I already have one launcher running, it's called Steam. Why would I need your proprietary stuff that is not critical to running the game?
Well, you know, you can get offers, discounts for our products.
Mate, if your company doesn't make 90% of what I like, those offers can go up your tailpipe. But regardless, I'm going off on a tangent, and you know what? The next story is a bit more of the what the fuck side of Steam, since we're still sticking with Steam, and I can't believe I'm saying these words. Let's be real here. I'm not surprised that I'm gonna say these words, it's just that I was not expecting to cover this, but a Florida man got arrested for spreading malware scam after the FBI tracks his Uber Eats deliveries. Now, you might be going in, why are you covering this? What's going on here? Well, the reason why I'm covering this Floridian escapade is because this Floridian is the one who spread malware using Steam and managed to get 8,000 devices infected and steal at least $220,000 in crypto. Yes, Florida man made malware, sent it on Steam, and got caught because he was too lazy and ordered Uber Eats. I wish I was making this shit up, but the guy literally sent his delivery straight to his home address and college addresses. College address. Jesus Christ, man. Now, I understand the college address, like, a lot of people here might not get the right one, but your home address? Then again, not in the US, don't use Uber Eats, so I have no idea how that shit works. Chances are you need to fill in some information, so yeah, the fucker got screwed because of that. Typical Florida man. Florida man thinks crypto can be traced, sends fast food to his house, and it gets delivered with a side of FBI agents. Can't get more Florida than this unless dumbass had an alligator pet in the bathroom. You know, just casually laying there in the tub, being fed chicken or something, I don't know. Jesus. Oh, and coincidentally, this fucker most likely has a lot of payback to do for all of the scams. Jesus. Really? You thought crypto was not traceable? Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Crypto bros in shambles right now. And now, let's take a moment to appreciate what people would call the scum of the earth. Sony faces an antitrust lawsuit from Mexican lawmakers over its decision to end production of physical games. You know you fucked up when Mexican lawmakers, you know, the people that generally have to tangle with cartels, go after your ass. It ain't a good day to be a Sony executive. Now, as per usual, I'm no lawyer. I haven't passed the bar. I got no legal degree. I'm just voicing my opinion for something I saw on the internet. If you take this as legal advice, I recommend a straitjacket. Now, with all that out of the way, the complaint seeks to answer if Sony's decision to go full digital will negatively impact consumers and other retailers by funneling purchases directly through its own online platform rather than allowing physical editions to be sold at other businesses. Yeah. Look, my personal opinion is this looks more a monopoly than Steam at the moment. And Steam, spoiler alert, hasn't been a monopoly since every other storefront decides to take a shotgun, point it at their faces, and pull the trigger. I mean, just think about it. Where can you get the games that you can buy on Steam? On whatever marketplace the developer puts them on. Where can you buy PlayStation games? Only on the PlayStation Store. So yeah, first party titles smells like a monopoly to me since there are no alternatives, Epic Games for what it's worth, GOG, where you actually get installers that you can install and play the game on offline, and you can put it on a hard drive and keep a database of installers for your library and, merge that with Steam's libraries through their shared library system, and you know what? Oh, wait, you got more games now. Oh, anyways, I digress. What all of this does is it creates a monopoly for PlayStation games, like how Reyes, I most likely butchered that name. Anyways, like how Reyes pointed out with this quote, Sony will become both the referee and the player within its own ecosystem. And we know what can happen when a single company controls every part of the market. Now, the opposite side of the spectrum of people doing nothing, aka the EU, is, sleeping on the matter. Cause Michael McGrant, the European Commissioner for Consumer Protection, told the Irish Mirror that the EU is ultimately unable to take action against it. Thank you, Michael. My disappointment's immeasurable and my day is ruined. Now, to spread the misery around, his quote is, it does come down to commercial and contractual freedoms, and companies are free to offer games and services in a manner that they see fit, provided that consumer rights are fully protected in line with normal and EU laws. At this point, I'm not surprised that the EU is unable to take actions, and I won't be surprised if Sony's lobbying the EU for not interfering in this shit show. Additionally, according to Moore's Law is Dead, some third-party game studios are paying Sony thousands of dollars to feature their games on PlayStation's official social media account. And unless you've been living under a rock over the last week or more, PlayStation's social media accounts aren't exactly the place where you want to advertise shit to. Because of the discontinuation of physical media, the report says some developers are frustrated because those paid posts are flooded with negative comments and community notes. Holy shit, boys! Get that community notes ready! We're gonna stamp our seal of disapproval here. I mean, at this point, I'd be more worried about those quote-unquote paid advertisements being undisclosed. But anyways, GameStop CEO said PlayStation killing physical games doesn't matter at all. Well, I'm pretty sure it does, but I'm just some rando with a microphone, so... what do I know here? Anyways, the CEO spoke on Bloomberg Tech, and he called the shift totally irrelevant to GameStop, arguing that physical game sales now make up only a small part of the business. He also pointed out money comes from collectible like trading cards and Pokemon products, since those have grown into the company's biggest earners. Alright, that makes more sense. It's basically irrelevant to his company and irrelevant to the general consumer population. A way to show what matters most there, Nate. Now, give credit to Deserto, they timestamped the conversation for anyone curious, and also pointed out that collectibles only make up 29% of first quarter sales, outselling video game software, which is why it's natural extension to the store's roots. So yeah, basically the moment collectibles dry out, GameStop is not going diamond hands. Now, arguably the worst news that come out of all of this shit show is the ex-PlayStation boss explaining why digital games won't be cheaper even after discs end. Wait, people were thinking they were gonna be cheaper, right? Poor innocent souls. Now, The former SVP of PlayStation spoke to Insider Gaming and said that the gaming industry would prefer to maximize revenue however possible, and the extra revenue can help cover increasing costs in game development instead of allowing the price of a game to remain fixed, regardless if it's physical or digital. In other news, Sony hired a bunch of talentless hacks to make shit games, spent a lot on marketing, and now is trying to figure out a way to crawl back its wasted money. Consumers be damned. Maximizing profits we go. Where do we stop? The trash can behind McDonald's. And now for rapid fire news. And I have to say, it's over, boys. The Epic Game Store boss, Steve Allison, quits to join Saber Interactive. I mean, thankfully it's not Timmy 2 cents, but look, I don't trust anything coming out of Epic these days. It's not clear why he left, but his LinkedIn page indicates he will still serve as a store chief in July. And because this is Epic, you know that Timmy 2 Cents will write a tribute on X thanking him for his work at Epic Games. Now, what did he implement to improve the user's experience again? Can someone remind me? Anyways, PlayStation 3 emulator RPCS 3 managed to make 75% of the PlayStation 3 library playable on PC. Holy shit, that's doing more for game preservation than our governments have done in the last decade. Now, let's get into the numbers. 2,681 out of the 305,059 games tested are classified as playable, aka you can start and finish the game with playable performance and no game-breaking issues. 816 games are flagged as in-game, meaning the emulator loads them, but it suffers from bugs and performance issues with the rest stuck on the intro stage, aka unplayable. Now, in other news, Obsidian Entertainment have the Fallout IP and they're already working on a new game. Wait, new games? Correction. Because Bethesda Game Studios announced that Fallout 3 and New Vegas are getting remasters. Now, if memory serves me right, I think we covered something like that a while back. I don't remember. Pretty sure we did. But regardless, Bethesda also announced that they're working on Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5 with their new Creation Engine 3. Now, good news for everyone. People no longer need to pretend to be the Half-Life community since they finally get new stuff. Or at least Obsidian Entertainment fans. Sadly, Half-Life 3 is nowhere near us, as far as I'm aware. Oh yeah, they also promised more Starfield content, but I mean, do I play Starfield or do I play Skyrim with modded content that plays better somehow? I don't know, up to you guys. If you like the game, good for you. You get more content. If not, well, welcome to my world, folks. And now, speaking of welcome, and wrapping things up for the week, the Dead Space creator Glenn Schofield announced retirement from the gaming industry. He took to LinkedIn to break the news with a video thanking his fans, colleagues, and the industry for supporting him throughout his career. There wasn't a reason given to his retirement, but the dude was in the industry for 35 years, so if nothing else, a break is in order here. And on that front, we're also taking a break until next week. More Old Man Rages in the news next week. You know the drill, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more scuffed content.